Good morning, and welcome everyone to the March 2025 regular meeting of the West Sacramento Area Flood Control Agency. To start, would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. First, do we have any changes or additions to the agenda today?
Good morning, Chair Ramos. Thank you. Staff is requesting that item number 4A be removed from the agenda for today.
Okay. So the agenda would be as presented with the elimination of item 4A. I'll make a motion to do that. Second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Then we'll start with item 1A, report out on closed session. Council?
Thank you. The board met in closed session on the two items listed in the closed session agenda and took no reportable action.
Okay, thank you. Item 1B, presentation by the public on matters not on the agenda within the jurisdiction of Wsafca. Is there anyone here or presented any documents to that effect?
I have not received any public comment.
Okay. Hearing none or seeing none, we'll move on to item 1C, monthly year-to-date revenue and expenses.
Thank you, Chair Ramos. I'll be reporting on the monthly revenue and expenses. Bear with me. I've been flying solo for a couple of weeks. In Fund 870, we did receive our first tranche of the flood assessment revenues, which amounted to $2.9 million. That represents the 2% increase that the board approved last year. Expenditures for the month in this fund were $14,439, resulting in an end balance of $12,252,905. For Fund 871, we received a reimbursement approval for $2.088 million from the Department of Water Resources. This money was drawn down from the $25 million advance from the state, which is reflected in the 257 account. Expenditures for the month totaled $398,355, leaving a cash balance in the fund of $24,726,000. Overall, the agency sits in a very comfortable position presently with $59 million on hand for operations, maintenance, and capital projects. Does the board have any questions?
Questions? Okay.
Well, can you just really quickly for the public want to state how we got 50 million, just real life?
How it what?
How this agency got $59 million for the funding?
Oh, sure.
Just real.
Sure. The $59 million accounts for a number of years of flood assessment revenues that have been accumulating. We use that for operations as well as capital projects, as well as another $25 million, which was an advance from the state for the West Sacramento project to be used as necessary for the capital project.
Right, thank you. We'll move on to the consent agenda, which has two items today. One is consideration of resolution to approve an option agreement for borrow material with the Sacramento Yellow Port District, and then also approval of the February 2025 meeting minutes. And is there any questions or comments, or entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Moved.
Been moved and seconded to move the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries unanimously. We'll move on to item 4B, Wsafca project updates.
Thank you, Chair Ramos. Just a few things to comment on about what's been happening in the program. We did receive two fund release letters from the Department of Water Resources, one for Southport in-kind crediting, as well as the Yola Bypass East Levy real estate crediting. The total amount approved was $2,088,000. In terms of the Southport project, I think I previously reported that the mitigation and monitoring report had been completed. We have submitted that now to the state and federal resource agencies. We will be setting up a meeting with California Fish and Wildlife to request a release from the permit that was that required mitigation for the Village Parkway levee or the Village Parkway road improvement. In terms of the Sac River North levee, our surveying consultant, REY Engineers, is conducting additional tree surveys and completed supplemental surveying for segment 3, which is expected to achieve 60% design completion in May. As far as the federal project goes, two things I want to bring to everybody's attention. If you've been watching the news, you know that there is now a continuing resolution, which means that the funding levels that were granted to the project in 24, 25, fiscal year 24 will be carried over into fiscal year 25. We received a cash request letter from the Army Corps of Engineers. This is part of the 5% obligation under the project partnership agreement. The letter requests 2 payments of $1.9 million in support of the project. We'll be working with the state to make sure that we can make those payments. I anticipate that we will be bringing this request to the board at the April meeting. 2 weeks ago, I attended the National Waterways Legislative Summit in Washington, D.C. There were speakers from Army Corps of Engineer headquarters, presentations from lobbyists, appropriations staff, and staff to committees such as transportation and infrastructure and the water resources and the environment. This was before the year-long continuing resolution, but the 2 themes that really kind of came out from that for me was, one is there's a significant level of uncertainty that's going on across the agencies. Associations are trying to figure out how they want to respond. Clearly, some of our partners are interested in seeing what kind of reform may happen on the regulatory front when it pertains to working with the Army Corps of Engineers. And then the other theme that I heard most commonly has to do with waters of the United States. The Sackett ruling that came out of the Supreme Court last year, there's some rulemaking that's going on right now, and it really kind of changes the look of wetlands, which doesn't affect our project particularly, but certainly a lot of California wetlands are not tied to navigable waters and are maybe subject to change in terms of the regulatory environment. That's the end of my report. If there are any questions, I'm happy to entertain.
Questions? Okay, Paul, thank you. Thank you very much. Next item is 4C, Director's Comments. And I have one. Well, if you could provide us at some point this whole issue of, providing credit and whatnot to the Corps and how that all works, process of percentages and stuff. If you could, at one point present us with a short presentation on where we stand and how it works, it'd be great.
Not a problem. We can make that an April agenda item.
Any other comment? Hearing none, we'll go to item 5D, which is adjournment. Thank you all.
Thank you.